and we begin by clearing up breaking news. The LGBTQ+ community is in shock as memories of violence are triggered by Maine shootings. We want to take a moment to recognize the victims of the shooting spree and mass murders in Maine. At least 18 are dead, many more are wounded. Today, wide swaths of the state were on lockdown while the killer remained at large, armed, and dangerous. Video appears to show 40-year-old Robert Card armed with a rifle, and an arrest warrant is out for his arrest. He's accused of 2 mass shootings within 15 minutes of each other. He is a former Army Reservist and skilled marksman. Card spent 2 weeks in a mental hospital over the summer after saying he heard voices and wanted to hurt fellow soldiers. But a family member told CNN he doesn't have a long history of mental illness. Today, Governor Janet Mills talked about the mass murders.
I'm profoundly saddened to stand before you today and report that 18 people lost their lives and 13 people injured in last night's attacks. I'm so deeply saddened, as is every one of the 1.3 million people of this beautiful state. This city did not deserve this terrible assault on its citizens, on its peace of mind, on its sense of security. No city does, no state, no people.
A lot of questions will be asked over the next days and weeks. Questions of culpability, mental health, gun control, and more. But 10-year-old victim Zoë Hutchinson asked the best questions.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Why do people do this? I was more worried about, am I going to live? Am I going to make it out of here? What's going to happen? Are the cops going to come?
That was Zoe and her mom, Megan, today on ABC's Good Morning America. That sound, when I heard it, just gutted me. That a 10-year-old child gets it. We talk all the time about protecting children. But this child was at a party at a bowling alley, and she took a bullet in the leg. And now she's asking questions like this. This child is not protected by its government. This child sits there, lucky to be alive. And I'm so glad her mom is there, and her mom is comforting her. And it makes me sick to my stomach that this is where we are in America. Getting this man, dead or alive, won't make much of a difference. I don't know what we're going to learn from him that we haven't already learned or had the opportunity to learn from other mass shootings. Earlier this year, there was a shooting in Oregon. Mass shooting. Didn't even make the front page or the top of online websites within 12 hours. I had a good night's sleep and I woke up to check the news the next morning. I didn't even see it until I scrolled down further. That's where we are. This is hard. We all remember Pulse. We remember Q Club in Colorado Springs. Our allies shot up in Southern California simply for having a pride flag. This triggers me. It reminds me of Pulse, then reminds me of so many others. I'm heartbroken.
Well, the things you said, this country, the two things in this story, mental health, because this country doesn't care about mental health. They don't care about taking care of people who need help. And gun control. Once again, we're talking about gun control. It comes back to this issue time and time again. And the gun lobby is so powerful that it's probably never going to happen, certainly in our lifetimes.
Well, and unfortunately, we see the impacts on this with children too. My cousin, when she was around 6 or 7, I remember she said to me one day, or my aunt, she was like, I love my school. It wasn't because of education. It wasn't because of any of that. Because they had bulletproof windows was why she loved her school. And I think us as a country is being so desensitized. We see this in the news all the time. That's why it's not unfortunately, on the front page. We need our lawmakers and people to actually do something. And it might be a part of mental health, but I have mental health problems. I'm not shooting up things, and I think, I'm not saying you said that, but I think that can be a little bit of a dangerous take to have sometimes. And it is a component of mental health sometimes. But we need gun control desperately.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, we don't want to conflate or compare each person's mental health, because everybody's struggle is real.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I can say that a lot of this issue is coming from white supremacy and about basically bigotry against people of color, bigotry against gay people, bigotry against trans people. Time and time again, we see these shooters are cis, white, heterosexual men. Yeah. Time and time again, every single time. And it's the majority. We have to sit down and think, what is the pattern here, and why is this happening? They feel entitled to, other people's lives. They feel entitled to this land, and they feel like they can inflict violence, and they want to inflict violence so that we, the minorities, are scared. And you know what that is? Terrorism. Absolutely. That is terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a hard subject. This is this story. I mean, first of all, I haven't gotten chills in a long time, and that young girl speaking, both my arms, my hair stood up. It really affected me. I didn't really think it was going to affect me that way. But the reason I think that it becomes so conflicting is because there's so much money involved in the gun industry that I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. And when you talk about mental health, like, sure, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Is there a process where they ask, do you have guns in your possession or in your home? Are they going to seize those guns? Do they go and ask questions to their parents or to the family if there are guns hidden, who they live with, what's the history involved? He had a short history. Who knows if anybody would have ever found out? It becomes a way harder question to ask, and to find a resolution, just for me, seems hard. I don't know
because
where to
there's
go.
So much layers to it.
And
so many layers.
Let me tell you, my girlfriend in India, everyone in India knows about this now. It's all over the news over there. And let me tell you, when they look at this, they're like, what is wrong with the United States? Because this doesn't happen there. And that is a low income country. We as a high income country that has the resources, that has the tools to be able to prevent these things, can't prevent these things. But a low income country,
to compare to other countries, right? There are countries that the police officers don't have guns on them.
Right.
You know what I mean? We are way past that. There's no way that we can now become a country of no guns where our police officers can have tasers and guns and because it's just we're too far gone. So the steps have to be small and small and small till we can get to a safe place where people are not, taking their Second Amendment right or not. The government doesn't now.
Well, India doesn't have their Second Amendment right. Well, they don't even have a Second Amendment right. They have a completely different constitution. But even with the weaponry that they have, there's still not mass shootings. Why?
Yeah. A few things that I want to hit on before we move on. First, you talked about mental health. I think we all have touched on that subject tonight. Mental health. I'm old enough to remember 2 or 3 years ago when Republicans were like, no, we don't need gun control. We just need to enforce the laws we have and, look at people with mental health issues. And before the election ballots were done from that cycle, they were already talking about getting rid of red flag laws, giving guns to people who have a history of mental illness. And you certainly don't want to stigmatize people from coming forward to get help. But at the same time, you don't want to make it easier for people who could be more inclined to do mass shootings. You don't want to make it easier for them to carry out terrorism, like you said, Poppy, like terrorism like this. And there are 2 questions that can be asked. One is, what can we do? Well, the answer is a lot. The other question is, what will we do?